first thing, you have to vote. If you don't want to address these problems and you don't want to vote, would you please just shut up? And let the other people who want to participate get to do it. That's the first thing. Then, as you are graduating from this fabulous university, I want you to do something that helps change the world. It's all going to add up. If we do everything all at once, we will get there. That's a great question. In my opinion, the thing we don't want to do is panic and give up and say, well, there's nothing we can do about it, so forget it. That's just not going to work. People around the world they're busy. They're driving and eating and burning and tearing it up. We got to be the leaders. It's a real opportunity. So vote. That's a great question. Where do we go now? Down here. Is that right? Yeah.
Hi. Yeah, I have a question. Okay, so as you know, probably every matter makes antimatter in radioactive decay and all that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So okay.
Did you just say matter and antimatter, radioactive decay makes energy? Yeah, great. Okay.
Yeah. So, what is your take on? Is there an antimatter universe out there? Is there people in that? What like is there another universe? Like, do we have a parallel universe kind of thing? Tell me more of what you think on that.
I don't know, man. So, by man, I mean woman. So, note well, that when my grandfather came of age, they thought the universe was static. Nothing was moving. He lived through Edwin Hubble and Mount Wilson in California, looking at the sky, noticing everything was moving apart, discovered the expanding universe. Then in the 1950s, people really did a lot of analysis of that and coined the term Big Bang. Cool. And then in your lifetime, these guys, Saul Perlmutter and his buddies, 2004, went out to observe how fast the universe was slowing down. It was presumed reasonably you have a Big Bang, except it's in space. And then it would slow down because of gravity. Slow down. Well, it turns out it's not slowing down. The universe is accelerating. It's getting bigger faster. And do you know why? Nobody knows why. So in your lifetime, to me, it is very reasonable. There's going to be a whole new physics discovered. And it may address the question of why is everything matter and antimatter and not the other way around, and is there a multiverse on the other side of some membrane or brain that we can't detect? And Mr. Spock has a beard. You know, these are fantastic questions. But I'm just frankly delighted that you're asking, because these are deep questions that, just for lack of a better expression, are physics. That will affect, if they can be figured out, they will affect everybody in the world. It's very reasonable to me that you would find sources of energy that no one's ever thought of. Limitless energy, whatever's making the universe do this. And the people say, well, that's dark energy, dark matter. Okay, what's that? Well, you know, it's out there. Okay. So that's a great question. I don't know, man. What's my personal opinion? Maybe. But I'm not. Much as I love physics, and as much physics as I took, did you put it back? I'm not a full-time astrophysicist. And even those guys, you know, do you guys know Neil Tyson?
Yeah.
Woo! Let's call him. He's a dear friend of mine. Maybe he'll.
Yeah.
Let's call him.
Yeah. Woo!
Yeah, he's here. Sorry, I should have this ready, I guess. I didn't know she was going to come up with the multiverse question right away. He's, I'm pretty sure he's in New York. The town's so nice they think it twice. Yeah. You guys don't have anything to do, do you? Neil. Yeah, here you go. Yeah. Neil, say hi to everybody and say hi to the Wildcats.
Hey, Wildcats, Neil Tyson.
Yeah!
A woman just asked.
You tell them like it is?
I'm doing my best now. I want them to, dare I say it? Yes. A woman just asked me if there's a parallel universe with matter, antimatter replacing matter, matter replacing antimatter. Do you have a view on that?
Oh, yeah. That was a thought back in the 1970s. It was a mention. All the matter came into this universe. All the antimatter came into another universe. There you got two parallel universes. You wouldn't want to visit that one, though. Or at least bring like a coin you could flip to the aliens there. If they explode, get back into your universe.
Yeah, everybody would die instantly. And that would be bad.
That would be bad, you know? And I always make sure I keep the aliens land that I have something to toss to them. To see if they explode first.
Like you take a pencil or something and throw it in. Yeah. See what happens.
Yeah, do something, you know, that's my personal security. What's a baby extend some appendage? You don't know what that means. Don't just go reaching for it and grabbing it and shaking it.
Don't just go reaching for the antimatter, people. Be careful. Neil, do you have any other advice?
Any other advice? Oh my gosh. Tyson is probably going to be good, so don't stop looking up for that. Let me think.
I talked about asteroids. I mentioned the asteroid threat. I want these.
The asteroid threat. Yeah. You know, I think the dinosaurs in the space program, they would still be here.
There you go. Excellent advice. Thank you, Neil. Everybody say hi, Neil.
Hi, Neil.
But I got people lined up at microphones. I'm going to do my best.
All right, man. And you and I can't change the world alone. Try to get as many in the audience as you can. And then we have a team, and we can change the world together.
Yeah. Woo!
Thanks, man. I'll be in New York tomorrow. I'll text you later. That's what the kids do. I'll text you.
Yeah. Woo!
My buddy Neil. Great question. Nicely done. We go over here now. Yeah.
Hello. So you know how the human population is just going steadily up, and
Didn't hear a thing about it.
there's really, I feel like there's nothing we can do about that. We just like procreating. But
No. Here's what you got to do. To lower the birth rate, you have to raise the standard of living of girls and women. And the way to do that, I'm not just being a do-gooder, son of Jackie and I, crypto analyst. No, what we have to do, the way to raise the standard of living of women and girls is education. When women's standard of living goes up, they have fewer kids. And it is generally believed they're happier with the ones they have. And then you would say, what about my mom? I know, it doesn't always go well. So, go ahead, you had a question.
do you think that our planet is enough to accommodate the growing population, or do you think we should focus more into... I'm taking this from my favorite sci-fi show. If we can find planets or another solar system like us and terraform it for human... Yes, Firefly planet.
Terraform.
Yes.
Firefly.
Yeah. Do you think within our lifetime that could be possible?
By the way, guys, Jewel State, let me just say. No, I don't think it's possible. For those of you who want to go live on Mars, and I know you're out here, Elon Musk, SpaceX, want to die on Mars. I say to you guys, go to Antarctica for a couple years, and don't go to where the ice sheet's falling in the water and all the birds are flying around and the orcas, the killer whales are just biting penguins by the mouthful. No, go to the dry valleys where it has not rained or snowed for over a century. And on a warm summer day, it's 20 below zero. Just Just go try that for a couple of years, and then we'll talk about. And by the way, when you do that, as far as what you're cheating, because you can breathe. Just try that. It's just not so hospitable. No, I think a much more reasonable approach is to clean up what we got here. That's what I think. Talking about solving the problem. That's a great question. Do we go like this? Is that how we do it, great managers? We go up here in the aisle next.
You said earlier that you were taught briefly by Carl Sagan, right?
Yeah, for a semester.
Okay. What would you say was the most influential thing that he taught you?
Great question, and it's an easy. I mean, I know the answer. I would say the most important thing he taught me was the process of science, or emphasized the process of science. So for the astronomy class, I wrote a paper about photographing life auras. Has anybody ever seen this, where you take a picture and it's got a halo around the guy's or gal's head? Total crap. But it was what he wanted you to write about was the process, how we debunk pseudoscience. And I went to my 10th reunion and I petitioned his secretary to let me talk to him for 5 minutes. And he said to me, I talked to him, this was in the early days, you guys. I talked to him, I was going to do this TV show about science for kids because I was disappointed in the Ford Pinto and the Chevy Vega and leisure suits, and I wanted the future to be better. This is when disco was giving way to new wave and punk, and the important work of Sid Vicious and the Sex Pistols. Anyway, he said, focus on pure science, don't do technology. That's what he told me at my 10th reunion. That one sentence just redirected my life. This really was a great question. Carl Sagan had a huge influence on me. And I was at the Library of Congress a couple weeks ago, and his papers were admitted to the Library of Congress, and they were sponsored by Seth MacFarlane, Family Guy. He's really a real scientist at heart, and he hired Neil to be the host of the remake of Cosmos.
Woo.
Great question. Yes. Next aisle.
I just wanted to know what your thoughts were on nuclear energy and how it compares in cleanliness and sustainability to renewable sources.
Great question. How do I feel about nuclear energy? No, I'm a mechanical engineer. We love heat engines. I love the I'm talking about the things to make power, not, we love making steam and spinning turbines. What's more fun than that? Maybe a piston. We love the diesel cycle, the Otto cycle, the Atkinson cycle, the Rankine cycle, the Stirling cycle, all these ways to get heat to turn, make something spin, mechanical work. Nuclear energy has turned out to be the most expensive way to do that. And when I was a kid, it just seemed like the greatest thing. You dig up this radioactive material, purify it, it's very straightforward, fuming nitric acid and giant centrifuges in Tennessee for a few months, and you get this stuff, hexafluoride gas, which would kill you in an instant, and then you make it and you'd be okay. It seemed like, people said it would be too cheap to meter nuclear power. But the problem, I think, is the people. And by this I mean there are right now 432 commercial nuclear power plants around the world. There are a few more military ones, and a bunch of ships have nuclear power. But there were 433 until Fukushima blew up. And nobody can live anywhere near Fukushima for another century anyway, maybe more than that. So in my lifetime was 3 Mile Island in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, which didn't blow up, but it almost blew up. Chernobyl in Russia and Siberia did blow up. And Fukushima didn't anticipate the catastrophic tidal wave or tsunami. And so there's 400 something plants. Just wait till there's 4,000 plants or 14,000 plants or 44,000. There's something else is going to go wrong. It's just we're not good enough at it. That's what frustrates me. It's turned out to be really expensive, and we're going to screw up and just contaminate enormous areas. Well, you've got to have some risk. I know, but the risks are huge. And nobody has anything to do with the waste, by the way. In Nevada, they don't want the waste. That Yucca Mountain is barely an hour from Las Vegas. They don't want, the public, the voters don't want that stuff. So it's a huge problem. It seemed like a cool idea, but I don't think it's going to work. If I were king of the forest, we wouldn't try it. But I know people are going to do it. And the nuclear industry is very influential, and there's a lot of uranium, especially in Canada, and there's a lot of thorium around the world. So people think that thorium reactors are going to be this great panacea, but you have the same problems. The thing that people didn't anticipate was not just the waste of the fuel, the leftover fuel, but all the rubber gloves and paper coveralls and everything that get contaminated. It just takes a huge amount of effort to get that stuff put somewhere. And the place you put it is generally Idaho. I know they had it coming or whatever. But it's not an infinite resource. You can't just bury stuff forever. That's a great question. That's a great question. Yes, over here. Yes.
My question is, I used to watch your show when I was
right on. I love you, man.
I know. And so my question was, for people who want to be teachers, what do you think is the best method for teaching kids or getting people interested in what you're interested in?
So the best way to teach a kid, in my opinion, what was your favorite professor, your favorite teacher, whatever, is their passion. Whatever it is you feel great about, let them know it. That's my feeling. And the way you do it is going to be the best way that you do it. So just go get them. You will touch the future. You will, dare I say it, change the world. Yes, so let your passion come through. And it's going to be great. It's going to be great. Thank you. Let's take a few questions over here because the line's longer over here. Yes.
So you talked about renewable energy sources and clean energy sources such as wind and solar. And there are sources, though, that put a lot of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, such as coal and natural gas. So my question is, what about carbon-neutral energy sources, such as biomass?
Oh yeah, biomass seems cool. And using algae to make diesel fuel, yeah. You know who the big investor in algae to diesel fuel is? The U.S. Navy. The Navy has they're real concerned about not being able to get fuel for their jets on aircraft carriers. So that's a cool idea. Bring it on, man.
What do you think are some of the viable options as far as biomass goes?
Well, I know that, this algae to diesel or algae to fuel oil is cooking. I guess that's a pun. It's going well. But I don't know much more. I'm not an authority on other sources, but it sure seems like there's an enormous amount that we don't do that we could be doing. I mean, you look at a landfill, it's steaming, even in the wintertime. So that energy could run a turbine, or, a heat engine, cool, hot. Yeah. So maybe you'll solve that problem, patent some things, and get rich. Yes. So thank you. It's a great question. Let's go, guy, our person behind you. Yes.
You were talking about all these crazy ideas, and I was wondering what the craziest idea you ever had was.
That I ever had?
Yeah.
Oh, where to begin? I want to have bicycle-powered vacuum cleaners. That's what I want. Have the kids in the basement pedaling, and that would cause the suction to, it's a real opportunity because of the inefficiencies. If you use a hair dryer, 1,500 watts, world-class cyclists. A year and a half ago, I would have cited Lance Armstrong. Now, maybe not. But even guys at that level could not, at 100% efficiency, can't drive a hairdryer. Hairdryer, is 1,500 watts is 1.5 horsepower. It's 2 horsepower. A human just can't crank that out. Just a hairdryer. And we leave all these lights on all the time, the screens are on, computers are on, blah, 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 cell phones are on, blah, blah, blah. We don't even think about it. It's just an enormous amount of energy. But the craziest idea may be the vacuum cleaner powered by bicycles in the basement. Or in the living room. You can power in the living room, hooked up with hoses. It just seems to me the airflow could be a lot less inefficient. I think about bumblebee wings. They're so efficient compared to what we were able to do because they cut aerodynamic drag. If we could just do that, maybe you'll solve the problem and get rich. Yes, thank you. Great question. So, oh, you have a follow-up?
Well, another one.
Nobody minds. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
You know, you showed the number on the screen there of how many people there are in the world, like
Yes.
over 7 billion. And I think a lot of people, including myself, think, well, there's so many people, why can I think of anything that someone else can't? You know, like someone's going
What,
to
you're
beat
not
me to a
special?
goal.
You're not unique? You don't have unique powers? Is that what I mean? Well, if you feel that way, just take the black capsule, girlfriend. No. Go out there and get them. Change the world. Let's go. Go get them. Yes. Yes. Neon colored sweatshirt. Then we'll go up here. Yes.
So my question also relates to your show. And so I was wondering how you chose which topics to cover and how to cover them, as well as why you decided to end the show, or whoever made that decision. And also what you think the future of educational programming is, because I think we've all lived through the decline and slow death of the History Channel and Discovery Channel, and all of you know what I mean.
Those are great questions. So let me start by saying, the Science Guy show was made at a different time on television. There were 3 networks and public broadcasting. That was kind of it. Then there was CNN, like this mystery thing off in the distance. But now there's, literally million websites. There's literally thousands of television channels. So the future of television is going to be, I think, the future of science education on video is going to be much shorter segments. So yes, I'm doing a deal with YouTube and Chris Hardwick, and we'll see what we can do about that. But the topics of the Science Guy show were very carefully chosen. Spent a lot of time on it. We did what I call physical science, which is physics and chemistry. Physics and chemistry, yes. Then planetary science, which is a term I coined, a coin I termed, that included astronomy and earth science. To me, earth science should be in astronomy. It's all of a piece. You're studying planets. And then, and dinosaurs, when I was a kid, were in earth science. What's up with that? Dinosaurs are life science. So there was physics and chemistry, physical science, planetary science, which included astronomy and earth science, then life science, which included general biology and the human body. So it turns out people of all ages are interested in their bodies, not just some parts of their bodies all the time. I got to tell you guys, it doesn't go away. I'm still, this is just, am I going to see her? Do I call her back? Nothing's changed. So, there were 3 categories, each divided into 2 categories, and out of 100 shows, we divided it pretty much even. And that was with great discipline. And there was not technology, although there was one show about computers, which was mathematics of computers. That's a great question. So we had great discipline, and I think that's contributed to the test, allowed it to stand the test of time. So if you get a job at the Science Channel, or the History Channel, or what's the other, Discovery Channel, just let's show a little discipline. Rather than just one wide shot of the star over and over again, can we get a point across? Not that I'm bitter. Fine. So, that's a great question. So let's go up. We'll go up to aisle people.
Throughout your presentation, you talked a lot about engineers and scientists and what all they can do. But as a future science teacher, what I'm wondering is, how can I involve myself and my future students in changing the world too? Like, how can we get involved in making the change? Maybe.
So, what year do you teach?
I don't teach yet, but I plan on going into secondary.
Oh, right on. Cool. Oh man, that's the turning point. People in 4th grade, people in 8th grade, and that 10 years old to 14 years old, that's when you really influence people. That's when you get kids excited about science and engineering. That's when you get them excited about changing the world. It reminds me of rugby. Rugby, right on. So you're about to get tackled. So you throw the ball to the next player over. So we You're going to influence kids. They're going to run forward and get the touchdown, get the try. Yeah, the try. Yeah. So go get them, man. You'll be able to influence them. Use your classroom to use less energy, to be more efficient, to learn about these technologies, learn about life science, planetary science, and physical science. Change the world. Go get it. Yes. Next over here. Yes.
Hi, I was reading an article about wind energy the other day.
About what?
Wind power. And yeah, wind farms. And they were saying people around the wind farms were complaining of a lot of problems with like memory loss and migraines and things like that. Have you heard anything about that?
People don't like the noise. So what we need to do is make wind turbines quieter. But if you, Kansas is lousy with people, but if you go to exotic places like North Dakota, there's a lot of open space. I'm not saying it's going to solve the problem, but it sure seems like a solvable problem. The noise seems like a solvable problem. Trouble is we're putting wind turbines in where people are already living. We just got to work that out. The same way you build a highway where people are already living, you got to buy their land, move them, negotiate. It's a solvable problem. By the way, I'm talking about scientists and engineers. We need venture capitalists, we need attorneys to secure intellectual property, we need bankers, accountants, we need everybody. Everybody's got to work on these problems to change the world. Yes, it's a good question. So I've heard about it and it seems solvable to me. It's a management issue as well as an engineering issue. Yeah. Yes.
Can you go into a little more detail about Planetary's laser bees? It seems a little...
Planetary what?
The laser bees.
Oh, the laser bees, yes. So these will be spacecraft that have solar panels. And those will make electricity to run lasers. And they will go out in space and they will maneuver, perhaps using solar sailing technology, using sunlight to push them around, and the gravity of the object they're interacting with. And they'll rev up these lasers and zap the surface, and the surface evaporates or volatilizes or ejects. And so we have these guys, it's a woman in Scotland, Strathclyde University, and she's, Allison, and she's found that the momentum of the ejected material is actually somewhat higher than they first thought. They thought that the dust coming off the rock would interfere with the laser and screw it up, but it doesn't much. It's shot out sideways, which, this is, there's a great story from Seattle. Tex Johnston was the test pilot on the first 707, the first jet airliner made in the U.S., and he did a barrel roll. Have you ever been on a plane? They don't do that very much. He did a roll with a 707 and he landed, and of course managers were concerned. Tex, what are you doing? It's our plane, man, dude. And he said, one test is worth 1,000 expert opinions. So we tried it, we're running this test in Scotland, and it seems to work better than we thought. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
I didn't know if it was a proposed idea or if it's...
It's a proposed idea, but we are running tests with rocks and vacuums. Rocks that are nominally agreed by geologists to be representative of asteroids. We're all made of the same stuff around here. And by around here, I mean the solar system. That's a great question. Join the planetary side, did I mention it? Yeah, let's go back over here. Yes.
I'd first like to take the opportunity to thank you, and I'm sure on behalf
of thank you, man.
For being such an inspiration. Now for the actual meat and potatoes. You've mentioned throughout your speech encouraging people to vote and to change policy to inspire change that way. But given people like Elon Musk with Tesla and SpaceX as a K-State business student,
Business student, Elon Musk. He's an engineer, he's a physics major.
What do you see as can corporations change things, or does it have to be a government body?
What do you mean corporations change things? What are you talking about? Everything you see was built by a corporation. Even if this building is a land-grant university, all the chairs, the concrete, the stage, everything is made by corporations. Right on. But the thing is, corporations are made of people. You know, even the good ones. Yeah. So corporations do. You know, and by the way, just as a guy who grew up, a bunch of hippies are not going to get together and build a 707. That's just not going to happen. You got to have a big organization to do something, or to build this building. So yeah, but the thing is, what we want to do, in my opinion, is influence policies that allow corporations to have innovations and ways to do more with less, to thrive, and outcompete the old technologies that are pumping carbon dioxide in the air. Does that answer your question or not?
It does. Thank you very much.
You got to do everything all at once. How hard can it be? Yes, let's take another one over here, please.
You mentioned about how Kansas and Nebraska have enough wind to power North America 5 times over.
That's about right.
And not much else. But I've heard that the current wind turbines aren't very efficient. I mean, this was a number of years ago, so I imagine that they've changed. So my question is...
Well, they didn't change. People made better ones.
People changed. Yes, that's what I meant. But my question is, I guess, 2 parts. One, how much of that wind would we need to harness to power that? Like, what percentage, or would it have to be all of it? And 2, how efficient are the current wind turbines? I guess that would make more sense to me first. But how efficient are they?
I'm not an expert on that.
Okay.
A guy I went to college with works on GE turbines all day. He's a guy who started out in jet engines. He works on turbines. You got to think, just intuitively, they could be a lot better than they are.
Right.
If nothing else, if they were made of lighter weight materials, less massive materials.
That's kind of the basis of all technology, though. It could always be better.
Right on, yes! Welcome to our world. That's what engineers do, yes. Yes. Let's make it better. So, this throwing out this extraordinary number, Nebraska and Kansas could power the world. Okay, I mean, in other words, you don't have to only have wind turbines here.
Well, right.
Yeah. The Chesapeake Bay is a windy place, for example.
Right.
North Carolina has a lot of wind offshore.
But I mean, I don't know if you've been to western Nebraska, there's very little there. But
oh yeah? The sand hills?
Yes.
The corn? It's fabulous.
How many of these wind turbines would we have to have there to harness a decent amount of wind to power?
Well, this is what I want you to figure out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, get it done. I mean, I like them, but I'm not a wind turbine expert. I spent a lot of time with fluids, with aerodynamics, but I'm not a wind turbine expert. But intuitively, you know they can be better. The problem is they don't spin all the time.
Right.
We need to store energy. That's where you guys are going to get rich, with your chemical engineers and your better batteries, your metallurgists. Yes, you're going to tear it up. So get her done. Sorry, I can't offer you any more than that, man, except get to work while you quit screwing around. No, I kid because I love. But that's exactly the kind of analysis that needs to be done. Not only that, that analysis needs to be broadcast. We've got to tell all the voters and taxpayers what's possible so they'll pursue this great goal. Wouldn't it be cool not to buy energy from overseas? Then wouldn't it be cool to export the energy that we create here? I mean, when you go to Saudi Arabia, the wind blows, man. There's like no shortage. The thing is that the whole place is floating on oil. So this is a huge opportunity. Do that analysis. Get out there. Change the world. Thank you. It's a great question. Yes, guy behind you, then we'll go up here.
As you said, light doesn't have any mass, but it does have momentum.
Like, wow. Like, dude.
It's amazing, but doesn't that seem to imply that inertia is not, in fact, a property of matter?
Light's not matter.
Right. But it has inertia.
Light doesn't have inertia. It's pure energy. Do you want to get into physics fist fight here? Light doesn't have inertia. It's pure energy, but it does have momentum. This is the strange thing. And I always say to everybody who has trouble getting his or her head around this, that's the wonderful thing about physics. So much of it just doesn't seem possible at first. But if you think about it, well, I guess that's right. And the life science, come on. This guy Darwin, I'm not changing the subject. We're talking about it in scientific method. Guy Darwin discovers evolution, and he didn't even know about DNA. mean, that's just amazing. And then when you find DNA, all that information packed in that little thing is crazy. So yes, that we have trouble imagining, for example, light as a particle and light as a wave. That we have trouble imagining that. Yet if we do experiments to find particles, we find particles. If we do experiments to find waves, we find waves. We're the organism with the problem, not the light. The light thinks it's fine, if I can use that expression. So yes, inertia is a property of matter, but it's not a property of electromagnetism. And something with inertia only has momentum if it's moving. Right? See? Physics fist fight. Oh, yeah. We'll be tweeting about that. Yes, up here.
I just want to know, what would you think would be on Mars?
What would be on Mars?
Yes.
We don't know. That's why we're looking. So here's what I want to be there, frankly. You know, in your lifetime, the Phoenix lander landed on Mars, scraped around, found ice all under the North Pole of Mars. By the North Pole, the Arctic region of Mars. There's ice under the soil, it's right under. Water ice. Maybe near the equator of Mars, in some big gully shaped like this room, sunlight hits it on a summer day and there's underground ice, super salty ice, that's oozing out of the soil. And in there is where Martian microbes once lived, but maybe they're still alive. Maybe there's Martian microbes still living there. You know, they dig in mines, go down 1,000 meters, 3,000 feet, and they find these little snails with these bacteria, like making a living way, way, way below where light hits. Maybe there's something on Mars like that. And if we found something alive on Mars, would it have DNA? Would it be a completely different type of organism? Because let me tell you what is wild, but is not incredible. Something that is extraordinary, but not crazy. People walking around on the ice in Antarctica find these rocks. Near the Allen Hills, it's a place in Antarctica where you can walk around, I guess. And you find a rock, and you look around, and there's nothing, there's no rocks anywhere, there's no mountains, there's no nothing anywhere around. The only way for that rock to get there is if it fell from outer space. They take these rocks back to Huntsville, Alabama, put them in the thermal vacuum chamber with the stainless steel cool rock cracker things. And it is on Earth, and it does make a sound. And little bubbles of gas come out. And the bubbles of gas match exactly the Martian atmosphere. And they look at the rocks under a microscope really carefully, and you see the shock pattern from an impact. So Mars was hit 3 billion years ago. Stuff was tossed into space. It is wild and extraordinary, but not crazy to suggest that life started on Mars when it was wet. Mars was wet, got knocked into space through what's generally called a Hohmann orbit, a mathematical, it's a fast way to get from Mars to the Earth compared to how you and I would do it. And we are all descendants of some Martian microbe. That's worth investigating. That's worth trying to find out, to me. That's worth another $1 billion rover. Let's go. So that is a great question. I want to find evidence of living things. I'm imagining fossil bacteria, fossil Martian microbe. But maybe there's something still alive. Very cool. Very cool. Yes, over here.
My concern is this strong...
okay, they're telling me 2 more questions.
I'm concerned about
2
this
more questions. Let's take 3 more questions.
Yeah! Woo!
My concern is the strong anti-intellectual, anti-science tendencies in our country. Global change deniers, anti-evolution, belief in psychics. And I really appreciate what you do, popularizing science, and your friend Neil, and what Carl Sagan did, and what good science teachers do. But they're already anti-intellectual. They're already anti-science, so how can better arguments sway them? What can we do to bring that kind of thinking back to where it needs to be?
Thank you. Bill predicts that the pendulum is going to swing. It is no longer going to be cool to be anti-intellectual. That's what Bill predicts. And did you know that Merriam-Webster picked the word science as the word of the year for 2013?
Yeah.
Okay, there's some reason for that. And that is apparently because it appears in print more than, or an extraordinary number of times. Furthermore, the most popular show on television, not the most popular sitcom, the most popular show on television is The Big Bang Theory. Which I was on, full disclosure, with my new best buddy, Bob Newhart. That was cool, that was really cool. He's so funny, oh God. So, I predict that because of meetings like this, the pendulum is going to swing. It's no longer going to be cool to not believe in science. Because it will become clear that the economy depends on it so much. That when we invest in science, we innovate and we come up with new things. We come up with the internet. We come up with planting seeds in a soybean field within plus or minus 7 centimeters. We are able to feed an extraordinary number of people where we didn't used to be able to feed a 7th family. And so I think just the economic argument for science, and especially space exploration, will have the pendulum swing back, and that's what you guys are going to do when you go out to become voters, taxpayers, and captains of industry. So stay the course. The longest journey starts with but a single step. Let us promote science, and dare I say it, change the world. Yes, penultimate question. Second to last question.
Okay. Now, chaining off of the space exploration, if you were given your own space program, what's the first thing you would do? And kind of a side question, but technology-wise, I know science before technology, but what's one thing you're really excited about?
I want to create a spacecraft that can deflect an asteroid. And along with that, we have to have a detect. We have to assay them. We have to go out and make a catalog. So that's it. Just make some spacecraft to deflect an asteroid. Okay, so good. Then I think I want to go to Europe. No, that's an old joke. I would like to have the capability to engage people all over the world in the passion, beauty, and joy, the PB&J of space exploration, so that we have the capability to deflect an asteroid, so that we do not go the way of the ancient dinosaurs. And then I want to send people to Mars. I would like people to go to Mars, and I want them to come back. You know, there's a big thing. I'm going to go colonize Mars. I got to tell you guys, I mean, I've had some fantastic experiences in Kansas, I must say. But do you know the state motto of California? Anybody know it? It's Eureka. I found it. These guys come over the hill, California. There's salmon swimming up the rivers, jumping into your lap on the Sacramento Delta. The orange trees are like weeds, and then the rocks are made of gold. It's like, it's just out of hand. Okay, well, on Mars, it's not like that. You know? But so I want the people to come back. But when a human is there, we will do exploration much more quickly. It's been estimated about 10,000 times faster. What our best rover does in a week, a human